Welcome to Mindfucks with Mahara, where we flip your perspective, challenge your thinking, and leave you feeling surprisingly amazing about it all. I'm your host, Mahara, and this podcast is for the rebels ready to rage against their comfort zone, for those willing to flip their finger at mediocrity and sit in the fire of discomfort, knowing that's where the magic happens. Each episode, I'll share insights that might just blow your mind in the best possible way. So if you are ready to have your world rocked and your thoughts rewired, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Let's talk about power. Not the polished, Pinterest-worthy power that fits neatly into your brand colors. I mean raw, untamed, unapologetic, spiritual in its messiness kind of power. The power that pulses through you when you're fuming, when you've hit your limit, when the nice girl mask slips and your entire body starts screaming, "This is not okay." Welcome to the realm of the Shadow Queen, peeps. And if this makes you uncomfortable, good. Because this episode isn't about sugarcoating your emotions into high vibes or bypassing your rage with a gratitude list. This episode is about reclaiming the part of you that never needed permission, the part of you that remembers, the part of you that rises, the part of you that knows that anger, yes, anger, is holy. You see, we've been fed a toxic story that anger is dangerous, unspiritual, and unfeminine, that it makes you unlikable, irrational, or broken. And we've internalized that story so freaking deeply that many of us would rather implode emotionally, physically, spiritually, than risk being seen as, quote, angry. But guess what? Your rage isn't a malfunction. It's a message. Your anger is not a threat to your spirituality. It's an initiation into your shadow queen, the archetype within you who refuses to play small, be polite, or abandon herself one more damn time. So let's burn that old story down, shall we? Let's talk about anger alchemy, how to turn fire into fuel. Let's activate your shadow queen, girlfriend. Let's reclaim your power. From the time we were little girls, most of us were taught the same thing, directly or indirectly. Be nice, be quiet, be agreeable, and for the love of God, don't rock the boat. Mahara, don't be so bossy. Don't be emotional. Don't be too much. And definitely don't get angry. Anger, we were told, was dangerous, right? It made people uncomfortable. It burned bridges. It wasn't spiritual. So what did we do? Well, we swallowed it. We buried it under politeness and people-pleasing. We channeled it into overgiving, perfectionism, or even resentment. Sometimes we numbed it with wine, chocolate, productivity, or endless fixing ourselves. We became the good girl, all caps, smiling on the outside while slowly eroding on the inside. How many of you can relate to that? Okay, well, here's the truth. That nice girl conditioning is a form of spiritual oppression. I know that sounds really harsh, but it disconnects you from your power. It convinces you that safety lies in suppression. But nothing is safe when you're abandoning yourself to keep the peace. I mean, at some point, the soul starts to scream. And that scream, that's your shadow queen waking up. In my Trinity transformation work, we meet three sacred archetypes: the inner critic, the divine guide, and the shadow queen. The shadow queen is the one most women try to avoid, but she's also the one we're starving for. She's your wildness, your sacred rage, your unfiltered truth. She's the part of you that walks into the room and doesn't shrink at all. She doesn't apologize for needing rest. She doesn't ask permission to say no. She doesn't contort herself to be chosen. She's fire, but not the destructive kind, the transformational kind. Okay, have I caught your attention yet? But because she holds your shadow emotions, anger, grief, disgust, shame, she's been demonized, suppressed, exiled. And yet, this is really important, she is essential. You cannot be whole without her. You cannot be powerful without her. You cannot rise without first rooting into her. So let's flip the script on anger. It's not chaos. Anger is clarity. It tells you when your boundaries have been crossed, for example. when your needs are not being met, when something is out of alignment. Anger is the guardian of your inner truth. But here's what happens to most high achieving, spiritually aware women. Instead of using anger as a signal, they treat it as a shame trigger. They rationalize it away, suppress it, meditate it into oblivion, or worse, turn it inward. Oh my God. And when you internalize anger without expression, it becomes poison. It shows up as burnout, as autoimmune flare ups, as depression, as passive aggressive behavior, as spiritual stagnation. But that's not the anger's fault. That's what happens when you don't know how to process your fire. And that, my friends, is where anger alchemy comes in. So, anger alchemy is the sacred process of transforming suppressed rage into potent power. It's not about lashing out or repressing, those are both trauma responses. It's about learning to feel your fire without fear, to let your anger inform you without consuming you, to alchemize rage into righteous boundaries, fierce clarity, creative energy, and unstoppable momentum. It's the difference between erupting like a volcano and channeling your fire like a forge. And this is how we reclaim our power, not by denying our fire, by learning how to wield it. Are you with me? Beautiful. Let's walk through the 4 core stages of turning fire into fuel. These are not linear steps, by the way. They are energetic practices. Each one matters. Each one heals. Each one reclaims a piece of you that's been silenced. So the first thing we have to really understand is you cannot transform what you refuse to feel. I talk about this a lot with clients. The first step to anything is awareness, and that's true here as well. So the first step is to simply feel the anger in your body, in your breath, in your bones. No spiritual bypassing, no rushing into solutions. And for the love of God, no slapping a positive affirmation on top of your pain. Give yourself permission, ladies, to simply feel. Just feel it. Ask yourself, where does this anger live in my body? Is it tight in my jaw? Burning in my chest? Clenched in my fists? What happens when I let it move? And here we want to use somatic practices to activate the emotion. So you can stomp your feet, scream into a towel, shake your body, pound a pillow. Maybe you prefer to turn on music that matches your rage and dance like your ancestors are watching. Honestly, this is not about performance. It's about permission, right? Permission to let your fire speak, let it move, let it clear the way. Once the fire has space to move, now we listen. Because here's the thing, every anger has a story. Behind all that heat, there's always a sacred message trying to get your attention. So ask yourself, what is this anger trying to protect? What boundary is being violated? What value is not being honored? Where am I betraying myself? Maybe it's not about the dirty dishes or the text your friend didn't respond to. Maybe it's the years of emotional labor you've been doing unpaid. Maybe it's the exhaustion of always being the strong one. God, maybe it's the soul ache of not being seen. Because that does hurt. And you know it. I certainly know it. So we don't want to just feel the fire. We want to also decode it. Because there's truth under all that rage. And that truth, ladies, it's your liberation. Okay, now that you've felt and decoded the anger, it's time to use it. I'm smiling just thinking about it. Because here's the beautiful thing. Anger's energy. And energy is sacred currency. Instead of letting it spin in your head or stew in your body, channel it. Turn it into a bold boundary you've been avoiding. A conversation that you've been afraid to have. Or a decision you've been circling for months. A piece of art, a program, a vision, a no, a hell yes. Let your anger inspire action. Maybe you've had a moment like this. You're holding it all together, being the calm, collected one. You're spiritual, patient, endlessly forgiving. but inside you're simmering. You avoid confrontation like it's toxic waste, nodding politely when your boundaries get trampled. You smile when you really want to scream. Oh my God, this sounds so familiar. You overgive, overfunction, overwrite your own needs just to keep the peace. But then one day, something cracks. Maybe it's a text left unread, a request made one too many times, a comment that hits too close, but there is a trigger. And instead of shrinking like usual, you feel something different. You feel fire. You scream, you cry, maybe you dance barefoot under the moon, or pound your fists into a pillow, or rage write 3 pages of truth in your journal, things that have been sitting in your body for years. And in the days that follow, you start making different choices. You rewrite your client boundaries, you unfollow people who drain you, you speak a truth you've been sitting on for months. You phone that friend you've been wanting to talk to. You stop apologizing for needing space or for having standards or for being a woman with fire in her bones. And suddenly, you don't feel broken anymore. You feel at home. Ladies, that's not destruction. That's not even drama. That's alchemy. That's clarity that moves. And it all starts with feeling the anger and feeling the fire. So now we crown her. That part of you society told you to suppress? Well, we welcome her back, and not just in theory, in your embodiment, in your voice, and in all of your choices. So start saying, I am allowed to take up space. My anger is not weakness, it's a compass. I no longer dim to keep others comfortable. I honor my rage, and I trust myself to wield it wisely. You see, this is how we reclaim power. Not by becoming someone else, but by finally returning to ourselves. The Shadow Queen doesn't scream to be heard. She commands presence by being fully herself. So let her rise. Let her speak. Let her lead. Here's the part most love and light spiritual spaces don't talk about. Rage is sacred. It's not the opposite of peace. It's the pathway to it. Every major transformation, personal, collective, ancestral, begins with rage. The rage of injustice, the rage of misalignment, the rage of finally saying enough. You see, rage is the fire that clears the old forest so new growth can emerge. If you want to live a spiritually aligned, soul-led, liberated life, you got to learn to make peace with your anger, to honor it, trust it, wield it. That's what the Shadow Queen teaches us. So, ladies, if you are ready to reclaim your fire, here's your challenge this week. Create a playlist of songs that stir your primal energy. Light a candle. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Then move, baby, move. Stomp, scream, dance, cry, whatever. Let it move through you. And here's a journal prompt when you're finished all of this. What am I done pretending is okay? Write it. Write it raw, don't edit, just brain dump. Let your Shadow Queen speak freely. Next, take a power action. So think about this. What boundary do you need to set? What truth really needs to be spoken? What do you need to stop tolerating? Don't wait for the courage, guys. Let your rage be the catalyst. Ladies, your anger, it's not a mistake. And your rage is not unspiritual. Your fire is not too much. Truthfully, it's medicine. The world doesn't need more good girls. It needs more women who are deeply in touch with their power. Women who refuse to smile through their suppression. Women who turn their fire into fuel. Women who stop apologizing for existing. Women who rise, not in spite of their anger, but because of it. So the next time someone says you're too much, just smile and say, sweetheart, I'm not here to be digestible. I'm here to be undeniable. And it's not possible for me to be too much. If this stirred something in your soul, you are being called into the Trinity transformation. It's my 3-week initiation into the Shadow Queen, Inner Critic, and Divine Guide. That's where you're going to rewrite your inner narrative, reclaim your emotions, and rise in your unapologetic power. And you'll learn not to be afraid of your anger. So check out my website, www.mindfulnesswithmahara.com, and see what the fuss is all about. As always, share this episode with a woman who's ready to rise. Here's to your fire. Here's to your truth. And here's to you. Have an amazing week. We'll see you next week on Mindfucks with Mahara.